third race weekend of the Michelin Le Mans Cup, the road to Le Mans, the one that everybody looks forward to. The third race weekend of the Michelin Le Mans Cup for 2024, the road to Le Mans. Two races, standard rounds of the championship, but Graham Goodwin, anything other than standard rounds of the championship, because our drivers in the two classes, LMP3 and GT3, take on the awesome Circuit de la Sarthe.
They do indeed. I mean, every championship has a round they like to think of being their blue ribbon event, but there are very few indeed that have the privilege of saying that they do theirs on the full circuit at Le Mans. And we're going to have 58 cars taking to the track. It is, I think I'm right, 40 LMP3 cars. Yes, 40 LMP3 cars, and a boosted grid 2 and GT3 of 18 GT3 racers. This is going to be the first of two 55 minutes encounters with a mandatory pit stop, a mandatory two-driver Pro-Am driver squads for these two races. The other race will indeed be on race morning in front of a massive crowd, something like 300,000 people expected here at Circuit de la Sarthe this weekend.
No pressure then?
None at all.
No whatsoever. I mean, blue ribbons do not get much bluer, do they?
No.
You know, if you're going to have a jewel in the crown, then make it the Kohinoor diamond. This is absolutely monstrous in every way. The lap is 3 times longer than Spa. It makes all the other circuits seem an insignificance. What that means, of course, is the prestige for the championship of being able to offer not one, but 2 championship rounds at the Circuit de la Sarthe over the Le Mans 24 hours race weekend. Who else can do that? Answer: no one else can do that. And this is the ground floor of ACO rules racing. This is where endurance racing starts. When you have cut your teeth in this category, you can move up to the European Le Mans Series, where LMP2 is the top category, where LMP3 and GTs also still race. And from then, the quantum leap into the World Endurance Championship with Hypercar here at Le Mans with LMP2 and with GT3 cars as well. So that progression for drivers, for engineers, for teams has been followed by a number of teams that are racing in the Le Mans 24 hours. They will have started in this series, and that is the carrot.
One of the best examples of that, TF Sport, who won when this was a GT3 only process in the very first year, and now the de facto Corvette team in the World Endurance Championship and here at the Le Mans 24 hours. As we said yesterday, they've not just got the Corvettes. Tom Ferry has got the horn. He's got the dinner horn from Corvette Racing. By the way, we've got about at least a 3-minute delay to the start procedures. That's because we've got a couple of cars that need to be recovered.
Oh, they're not waiting for it to rain?
No, no, no.
Okay, okay. It is feeling, it's definitely got rain. It feels like there's rain in the air outside. I have to say, I've just been outside the back of the commentary booth. It's cool. It does feel like there is the potential for Anthony Davidson's technology to be right, that there might be some rain. Teams and drivers, the pit lane is not the regular pit lane. The paddock is not the regular pit lane. That's full of 24-hour cars. They're over the far side of the circuit by the big wheel, so they come across with the tyre trolleys and the drivers for the second part of the race, because all of these are 2-driver cars, and all of that takes a little bit of time to do as well.
It does. Lots of the team personnel, you'll see them in basically a fleet of vans, not minibuses, but vans, just spotted the middle of the cruise there. The team principal for RLRM Sport now moved to Silverstone from their traditional Bolton base. This is the season where we've been so far, to Barcelona, to Paul Ricard. Now, of course, second race in France, second race weekend in France, here at the Circuit de Sarthe in Le Mans. Spa, Mugello, a brand new one for the Michelin Le Mans Cup, and the traditional season finale in Portimao in Portugal to come. Cracking series, Formula Bonkers is what I like to call this, because literally anything can happen and usually does. There's a starting grid, Martin.
Well, and part of the starting grid, part of the stories in the starting grid come right at the very end. James Sweetnam starts on pole from points leader Adrian Kia, then Steve Parrow and Torsten Kratz. Torsten Kratz and WGM Rinaldi Racing back. They're not regular season entries in Michelin Le Mans Cup, but they are here for this weekend. Then Team Thor, who finished on the podium last year, M Racing, High Class, Rinaldi. Some names that you will see in other categories of racing, but who focus on this, particularly for this one race weekend, because this is the one that everybody wants to win. So the first 34 cars on your grid, so you'll see them all spooling through here, are LMP3 cars, and predominantly that is the dominant Ligier chassis.
With a number of Duquesnes. And the other thing to say is, in addition to the Michelin Le Mans Cup squad, there's a fair number of the ELMS LMP3 cars have chosen to add here. And news today, by the way, of a multi-year extension for Michelin to continue with their tyre supply for LMP3 into the new era that comes. We'll talk about that in the show later. Comes for the 2025 season with new cars and a new engine for LMP3, so it's going to be a very different soundtrack when we get back here to the Circuit de la Sarthe for Road to Le Mans 2025. But we're getting into the high 20s. When we get to the mid-30s, this switches from the racing prototypes of LMP3 to the GTs, and we'll kick off with the class leaders in that one as well, Martin Haven.
Yeah, Racing Spirit of Le Mans, they had success here last year. They with their Aston Martin, they're on the podium. They have won races here before as well, so they will be very much a factor. And it is in 35th position, just a couple of rows from now as we scroll through. And if you think the graphics take a while, if you're in a grandstand, cars never stop going by you as they leave the pit lane. So they're going to leave the support pits over the far end of your picture, the top right-hand corner of your picture, and then do a full lap. So Racing Spirit of Le Mans, Derek Dubber starts on pole position. The Aston from Kessel Racing's Andrew Gilbert in their Ferrari. First of a phalanx of Ferraris. Kessel Racing and they, of course, long-time Ferrari supporters. And Maciej Kurzewski, that is the car that leads the points. High Class had a good time last year with their Porsche. Nick Jones starts 5th in the category. The Iron Dames have a whole different lineup here in this category to their category, their car in ELMS and their car in World Endurance, but it is the same overall umbrella. We're working through our GT3 field. And again, teams like Proton Huber, Heart of Racing, new to the series, Stella Motorsport debuted last year with Rory Butcher back again this year. A pair of cars from Blackthorn Motorsport as well, rounding out that part of the grid. And then all the cars that did not set a lap or had their times removed, including RHGP, starting 52nd, second in LMP3 points. Racing Spirit of Le Mans car, again, they didn't get times. The Stella Motorsport LMP3 car, Senan Fielding, will start 55th, ahead of Tim Creswick, a podium finisher last year in GT3. And there are, right at the back of the field, Pierre Caffer as well.
Pierre Caffer, ex-Audi factory driver. Lots and lots of stories, but watch for those cars at the back. There were some Adrian David in that RHGP car, I think amongst the quickest guys in this field. There's going to be excitement from back to front.
Well, the great thing about this track is that it's not short and tight. It's very long, fast straights. And when you're in an LMP3 car and you're on a long straight, you can haul by a long queue of GT3 cars. So there is the potential here, more than anywhere else we race, to make up those lost places. And they're going to need to, I mean, Pierre Caffer, he's nobody's full race here as a factory Audi driver. He's very, very quick, but that car lost all its times after qualifying for various infringements, and so will start 58th. Even I, in my racing career, have never started that far back on a grid.
Pierre, by the way, one of a couple of drivers in this field that have already raced here in the last few days. They did the Ligier European Series race that supported the test day for the second time here in this new era of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Great to see that this race is being supported by packed grandstands around the circuit. It does provide entertainment. It's usually of the racing sort. Sometimes it can get a little more dramatic than that. Here come the vans, by the way.
Well, listen, when you've got 48 cars that are, or 40 cars that are the same as each other, and they are the same as each other, only 8 of them are a different chassis, and they all have the same power unit and the same tyres, then you are going to get very close racing, and that's exactly what we expect. In the 18 cars in the GT3 category, yes, there are different chassis, but again, GT3 is predominantly designed as a Pro-Am championship where the cars have equal potential for performance. And so, again, it's nearly impossible to get away from any of your rivals, whichever of the 2 classes you're in. So let's see the AMR guys. Those are the guys from ProDrive that build the Aston Martin Vantages that we're using here. See, the wind is picking up. Can definitely feel the cool, damp air coming through the back door of our commentary position.
It's got much cooler, and you can feel that breeze, and that wasn't the case until pretty recently. Kessel Racing represented not in the Le Mans 24 Hours this year, but 3 cars in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, the Road to Le Mans, and they're proud to be here. The Swiss team, one of Ferrari's biggest customer race teams, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yep, and they start 2nd and 3rd, or 2nd, 3rd and 10th, in fact, to document the 3 Kessel cars accurately. But it is Racing Spirits of Le Mans, not Le Mans. Le Mans.
We should make it clear, by the way, that is not a spelling or grammatical error. Le Mans is a district of Switzerland, I believe.
Yeah, it's not a horrids to try and get away from from any legal action by Le Mans. It is entirely unrelated in that way.
And by the way, Racing Spirit Le Mans, previously the service providers to Cool Racing. Colin Noble there, and Anders Fjordback with his back to you from High Class Racing. They look after not only the Porsche that races under their own name, but also Team Tour, the Icelandic flagged effort. Keep an eye on that car because they have been coming on strong this year.
Anders Fjordback 2nd in race 1 in GT3 in the HCR by Caffeine 6 Porsche that he shared last year with Tim Creswick. So plenty of experience here, and a winning, podium finishing experience as well. There's a few names in last year's top 3 in both categories who are not in this race because they're in Le Mans 24 Hours. Valentino Rossi, for instance, winner of race 2 with Jerome Policar in the Le Mans 24-hour race. And again, as we said, Torsten Kratz and Leonard Weiss, WTM by Rinaldi, they've raced in Michelin Le Mans Cup for several years, but aren't regular season entries this season. They're in European Le Mans Series.
Correct, full season entry there. That's why they've stepped up and taken the step back, if you like, for this, because of course there's no place in the 24 Hours of Le Mans for an LMP3 car. Here they come, and indeed that was the WTM by Rinaldi car first in shot.
So Cool Racing starts on pole position, number 87 car in their traditional gunmetal grey with blue highlights.
The cars are coming out, by the way, in grid order.
Yeah. So the deal is...
This is the formation lap from this point.
You lead, you send the cars out in grid order, side by side, and they will do the formation lap of the entire circuit. So 13.62 kilometres. And then as they come into the end of the Porsche curves and towards the Ford chicane, they will be lined up 2 by 2, and then they will be released as they come across the start-finish line for a 50-minute race.
So the other point to make here is this will be the last time we hear this soundtrack to LMP3 at the 24 Hours of Le Mans this weekend, these 2 races, because at the end of this year, the long-standing servant of the Michelin Le Mans Cup and LMP3, the Nissan VK V8 engine, initially in 5-litre form, nowadays in 5.6-litre form, now out of production, will cease and will be replaced by a power plant, a powertrain centred around a new twin-turbo V6 engine, Toyota-based, again assembled exclusively by Orica, who blueprint these powertrains to be of equal power output. So it's going to be a very different sound to LMP3 from the start of the 2025 season.
So make the most of this basso sono growling V8, because this is the final season in action. We've
already seen, in fact, if you're here at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in the Spectator Village, you can already see the new for 2025 Ligier, the JSP 325. But look out, because at least 2 other manufacturers will be stepping up. Duquesne with a revised version of their D08, and Ginetta plan to be back in the hunt for LMP3 for the season to come in 2025. Here come the GT cars. There is the new look Iron Dames. It's a new look squad as well. With starting this car, it is going to be Célia Martin that will start the car.
Yeah, Célia Martin, one of the new members of the Iron Dames lineup. They claimed pole last time out in Le Castellet in France. And they currently lie third in the overall point standings. Pole sitters in Barcelona, the AF Corsa 51 Ferrari, just a couple of rows ahead of them, will line up fourth. And Matthew Krzyzewski will take the start in that Ferrari, and he is, or they are, he and his co-driver are the current points leaders after 2 of the half-dozen races this season. So this will be...
Look at that.
It will be the third race weekend, but 2 races here.
Yep.
Every other weekend we'll have a single race. So not only do you get to race at Le Mans, not only do you get to race on Saturday morning before the 24 hours with a monster crowd, but that's his second race. So in each of these cars, 2 drivers, and one will start race 1. The second will start race 2. And they start in the position in which they qualified. Ooh,
big lock up there for the 34. And actually, that's mistaken through the gravel briefly for the 34 car. Just spotted behind, by the way, one of the storylines here. That's a car that clearly has had some dramas because it's a replacement engine cover for that car. The 42 car in the hands of Senan Fielding appears to be the final car on the grid here. So we've lost a couple, I believe.
Well, that would be a shame, because Tim Creswick for Inter Europol in their 43 car.
But it was the 34 car we saw at the back of the field there.
No, but he should be behind Senan Fielding. So should Max van der Snel Jr. from More Motorsport. Well, after they didn't set a time in qualifying, the 43 car, and Steph Whitworth tells us from the pit lane that that car will not run. So 99 More Motorsport and possibly the Racing Spirit Le Mans 64 car that Pierre Caffer was due to start may not be starting either.
Well, the 99 car is a dad and lad effort. That's a real shame. They're a real buzz to be around this year, Dutch racing family. But the one that perplexes me is the 34 car, because that car should be starting 15th in the hands of Alexander Bekantsov, but that was right at the back of this grid. Right at the back, then, is Senan Fielding in the car he will share with Sylvain Guintoli. And Sylvain Guintoli is the other motorcycling world champion that we have here this weekend. And there, look at that.
Oh, dear.
It's a further problem for the 34.
That tyre has ripped itself to pieces.
The wheel's gone.
That's Alexander Bekantsov. You're right.
So what happened there?
Well, that'll be why he went off into the gravel trap, if the wheel was already separating itself from the car. So they've just left the pit lane. That looks like the wheel, when the wheel nut was put on, was not on the drive pegs of the hub and has machined off the nut and come loose. Well, so Alexander, and that is an enormous issue. Obviously, they're not going to start the race. It may be that the race will not start now because there is a car on the beginning of the Mulsanne straight. There is a yellow flag there in that sector, but Bekantsov, 4th in the points, that's going to torpedo their position in the standings below the waterline.
Isn't it just? But he did park it up next to a gap in the barrier, so with a bit of luck, they might be able to drag that car to a place of safety. It's a long lap, remember, and at safety car speeds, there might just be time to clear it.
Yeah.
Yellow at Marshall's post 7 and Marshall's post 9. So 2 separate. I suspect it's debris I think he's been in the barrier at around Marshall's post 7. There it is. There's the remains of the 34 car. But let's have a look here. This was the 42 car going by. It was the wheel just came off.
No. It wasn't the wheel.
It was the wheel. The whole assembly came off.
The suspension is attached to the wheel. The entire left rear corner. Look, there's all the suspension arms and the drive shaft. Everything on the left-hand corner of the car has just come off.
Well.
Have you ever seen anything like that on a formation lap?
So huge amount of debris at Marshall's post 7, yellow at 9. So the debris has been cleared. The yellow's been removed at the point where we saw the wheel and the Somerset that's attached to it separate. Yellow Marshall plus 9 is for the recovery of that car.
That is absolutely astonishing. I've never seen anything like that. That looks like the sort of car preparation that I might be guilty of, but that's a team that is far too good.
Well, we did say there was a replacement engine cover on that car. It's had work done at the rear of that car, and was that just too much rush?
Goodness, I mean, goodness me. I mean, you said earlier on, there is always drama in this race, much of it of a racing variety. Well, we're 5 minutes away from racing, or 2 minutes away from racing potentially, and the highest dramatic moment of all. So 34 into Europol. Well, I mean, first of all, 43 into Europol, didn't make it to the grid, and 34 from into Europol doesn't make it around the formation lap.
Oh dear.
It's not a good day for the Polish team.
And it will be a slow zone to start this race by the look of things to help aid the recovery of that. Let's hope everybody's heads up with the rule book here. And this is where you've got an extra formation lap.
Yep.
That's smart, I think.
That is smart. There is a little bit of wriggle room in the timetable. Not much before we go into hyperpole, but a tiny amount. I mean,
well, remember, this can be a timed race.
We also came out 3 minutes late, so I think, 13 laps to go. I think we're not going to do 13 laps. I think we will, when we go green, we will pretty much immediately see the clock running down. So what should be a 50-minute, 55-minute race is likely to be more like a 45-minute race if we're lucky.
And by the way, this is terrible news for those teams at the back of the grid that shouldn't necessarily be there on pace, because it gives less time for their professional drivers to make good on the gap they've actually got to the long way, and an awful lot of cars to the front of this grid.
First among whom, in terms of being the least poorly qualified or not qualified of those cars, is Adrian David in car number 85 from RHGP, the car that is second in the points.
Wow.
So, I mean, we are already seeing a number of very prolific point scorers, not with a prime opportunity to continue in that position. However, don't forget, this is the first of 2 races, so they have got the opportunity to gather everything back together, and on Saturday morning, hopefully, turn that frown upside down. But there will be a lot of worried faces, I think, in a number of teams right now. There's the recovery truck, and that's why we've got the extra formation lap, because that will allow the recovery crew to rescue the car and actually at least start the race without trackside debris and yellow flags.
Yes, indeed. Car 42, by the way, back of the grid because it did not take part in either qualifying session, had damage in free practice 2. Car 85, which is the RSGP, did not set times during qualifying 1.
Yeah, so
no valid lap time, so that will have been, I'm sure, track limits.
Yep.
So it's sort of self-inflicted on the RHGP car and unlucky for Stella Motorsport.
Yeah. And Stella with a foot in both camps, running an LMP3 car for the first time this year and running their Audi in GT3, which they debuted in the series last year as well, a team that's come from British GT Championship Racing.
GT4 champions a couple of seasons ago.
Indeed.
And back in that championship with GT4 Audis, staying loyal to this. They got the recovery truck on site, so it should just require this lap for recovery of the stricken number 34 car. Yes, this new programme for LMP3 for Stella Motorsport. I believe, by the way, they also have an LMP2 car in the workshop. They'd love to be running that somewhere. But
well, you can imagine, can't you? You know, they've got a taste for this now.
Oh, yeah.
And they're okay. Well, and again, you mentioned TF Sport as a prime example. Tom Ferry and his crew have done exactly that. And Cool Racing as well. Cool Racing running an LMP2 in the 24 hours. They run LMP2 cars, LMP3 cars, very successfully, both in Michelin Le Mans Cup and in European Le Mans Series as well.
Impressive base they've got, close to Silverstone. where they operate their race team from, as well as their engineering company, and known probably best in British touring car circles under a previous operating name for much the same people, GPRM, who I believe I'm right, came up with, what is this? This is the 34 car coming out of the collecting area.
That's where he went across the gravel at the Ford chicane, straight out of the collecting area.
So you can see, look, the rear end of that car is a replacement rear end.
Yep.
So there's been attention to that car since qualifying.
It's supposed to be yellow and green all the way down.
And now this.
Yeah.
Extraordinary.
I mean, you know, it's not a laughing matter. Luckily, it happened when he was at relatively low speed, not in the middle of traffic. But that wheel and that suspension, you know, you can see it there sparking off the barriers.
I think that's finger trouble. I'm sorry, but I think that's finger trouble. That looks to me an absolute classic. We had a lot of work to do and no real time to do it.
And it has just torn what remains of the back of the car apart as it's departed stage left. So a real heart-in-the-mouth moment for Alexander Bukatsov.
No chance to get aboard for Rick Kern. I suspect Alexander Bukatsov wished he didn't. But,
well, neither of them will do a racing lap today,
indeed.
And they will have to hope that they both get a chance to do that on Saturday morning. And for those of you who are watching and of an interested bent, that will be at 10:20 Central European Summertime, 09:20 in the UK, Ireland and Portugal, 08:20 wherever else you are. We will start our coverage of race 2 of Road to Le Mans.
By the way, the 99 car from More Motorsport and the Racer Spirit Le Mans car with Pierre Caffer are out there.
Aha.
So that's good.
Yes, they have set times. So we have lost 2, but we have gained 2 that we thought we didn't have.
And rather sadly, 2 from the same team, which is never something you want to see.
I know, I mean, and it, you know, Interpol aren't just a brand new fly-by-night cowboy operation.
No, they
won Le Mans.
They've won Le Mans in LMP2. I think they finished second in LMP3 in the championship in the European Le Mans Series 4 times, including in dramatic fashion just a couple of seasons ago where they were part of somebody else's accident. In the last 15 minutes of the season, it cost them the win.
Well, you can just see there the yellow nose of Derek Gebeur's Racing Spirit Le Mans Aston Martin, way back in the back, way back, way back. Okay, don't bother waiting. We haven't got time to watch 33 cars go through before we get to our GT3 leader, but that's how far down the field he is. Now, on a standard race weekend in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, full disclosure here, there aren't quite this many cars. There's not many pit lanes that will take 58 car fields. And when I say not many, I mean none. Yeah. So there are a whole bumper bundle of extra entries, probably getting on into nearly 20 extra cars here. But it is a very, very strong and competitive championship. And so whether you're a prototype driver in the LMP3 field or a GT driver in the GT3 cars, there is always a race going on.
Well, yeah, and you'll see at the start of this race, because of a variety of trials, some of the pro drivers with some familiar names. We've already mentioned Pierre Caffer, Rory Butcher, who's had race-winning form in the European Le Mans Series in GT, and of course has been a regular in touring car racing as well, including the BTCC, is going to be starting this race. Others too up and down the field, and then there will be more familiar faces when we get to the driver changes at around half distance. It's a colourful field.
Certainly is, isn't it? And again, lots of multi-car teams, and that always, I think, reflects the strength of the championship. If teams are being asked to run 2 or 3 cars for drivers, then you know you've got a championship that people want to go and race in, and that's very much the case here. There's very few single car teams. WTM by Rinaldi is one of those, and as we said, having raced successfully, won races in Michelin Le Mans Cup over the last couple of seasons, they've graduated to the European Le Mans Series, but coming here because who doesn't want to race at Le Mans? So Torsten Kratz starting 4th in the number 22 car.
Coming towards the end of this second formation lap, and as I say that, we've got a full green circuit for welcome these cars when they go racing in just a few moments' time, Martin Haven.
Huzzah. Well, there's the middle of the 30s, or the late 20s and early 30s of the field. Right up behind the leading car are the front row men. James Sweetenham on pole. 3 minutes 48, 1:11, compared to a 3 minutes 48, 1:33 of Adrian Keeler in the Cool Racing car alongside him, the car you just saw on the left of your picture. So 22 thousandths of a second, rather, between the front row men in qualifying, over 13.6 kilometres. And in traffic, it's a very, very dominating performance. Cool Racing first and second on the grid, Rinaldi Racing and W10 by Rinaldi third and fourth. We are ready to go racing here for first race of Road to Le Mans. 87, James Sweetenham, closest to the camera on the right-hand side of your picture. On the left, 97 for Cool Racing. Adrian Keeler, his teammate, they drop the hammer, away we go. Some very ambitious starting behind you. May not pass before the start-finish line. It is the pole sitter that leads. Adrian Keeler under pressure from Steve Perrow in the Rinaldi Racing car, the white car with the red highlights. And through go the leaders, and now we just try and count them all through on the exit of the chicane, because there will be a variety of different escape routes being used.
Two very good starts indeed. One that was absolutely clean. Torsten Kratz through into third place, and W10 by Rinaldi. Great start as well by Auden Gudmundsson, our Icelandic driver, Team Tour, and the Icelandic man up into fourth place behind the Cool Racing cars and the W10 Rinaldi Duquesne.
As soon as I called the wrong Rinaldi Racing car, I realised that red and white was the WTM by Rinaldi car. There is our GT3 field, or at least about a third of it. Looking for the bright yellow rose of the Aston Martin that led. There's
Kratz going to the lead. He's already cut through on the 87 car, looking to get by the 97 for the lead here. Does so. He's got it under braking, and through two into third place goes Auden Gudmundsson.
Yes, and Torsten Kratz nearly outbraked himself into the first chicane to go ahead of the race of the pole sitter James Sweetenham. And 77, the white car with the blue highlights, that's the Icelandic colours of Tor Gudmundsson, and on the bouncing around on the grass, or on the runoff area, that's the M Racing car of Alex Cuno.
Side by side between the M Racing car of Alexander Cuno and Felipe Laza in the Rinaldi Racing number 71 car. They're battling away at the moment for fifth and sixth place.
Oh, close, and inside on the brakes goes 71. Great move. Felipe Laza holding his nerve. There's going to be a lot of that. This is very, very busy. The opening laps of both races last year were really fraught in LMP3. These cars are so close in performance.
Laza to the outside of the second of the Cool Racing cars, looking to tough it out down to Mulsanne corner. Don't think he's going to quite... He's done it. He's done it to the outside, the M Racing car. This, of course, Ivan Muller's team. Looks to the inside. No way through there, though.
Horst Felbermeyer in a Reiter engineering car has dropped right to the tail of the field. We didn't see why, but there's an LMP3 car with work to do. As there he is, 50.
He's off. Centre fielding, by the way, has been in and out of the pits. Torsten Kratz getting away here.
Yeah, W10 by Rinaldi Racing. Well, they finished second, Torsten Kratz and Leonard Weiss, in last year's second Road to Le Mans race. Now, did we hear from Stefan the pits there was a driver change for Stella Motorsport on lap one? That can't be right, can it?
Centre fielding has shown in the car whether or not they've changed the driver indicator.
Yellow flags at Marshall's post at 16, and that's where Horst Felbermeyer is stuck. He's not Horst Felbermeyer Senior or Junior, he's Horst Felbermeyer the third.
No, he is the man previously known as Junior.
All right, okay.
But, with, I'm afraid, the passing of his father, it's Horst Felbermeyer and Horst Felix Felbermeyer, his son, third generation racer, now racing in Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland.
Change for fifth of the M Racing car, moving ahead of the 87 Cool car. That was the car that James Sweetenham started on pole position. Don't forget, you tend to have more of a pro and more of an am in these cars, and you don't have to start your pro or your am. So some cars may have started their faster driver, some cars may have started their not quite so fast driver, but Torsten Kratz is heading for the border. Adrian Keeler, again, a race winner in these cars, and he's been around in the Le Mans Cup and European Le Mans Series for a few seasons now, but he's under real pressure. Got the chicane all wrong, and Felipe Lazer looking for second place. He's on the inside with that bright blue nose into the Dunlop curve. He's going to take second place away before they get onto the brake pedal. He does.
James Swetnam in trouble and dropping like a stone down the field, but someone heading in the opposite direction is the guy that started right in the back of the field for the RSGP squad. Adrian David is way up the field now. Where's he got to? He's got to 26th place from 55th at the start.
Well, he must know a shortcut, sure, because that's just insane. He's made up half the field from 52nd to 26th. James Sweetenham has gone off at the chicane, I think. Yeah, Marshalls post 33.
I think we're about to see that maybe in the background here.
Yeah. This is Adrian Keeler in the battle for what was then the battle for second place. Keeler running out wide, just losing a little bit of momentum. Look how close that was. There was contact there in the battle for second.
3 wide on the run down to the first chicane.
Goodmanson on the outside, the white car, that's 77. 13 picks up 2 places. Can he get it stopped? He does. That's great stuff from Alex Cugno. And again, Cugno, LMP3 and LMP2. Safety car.
Now that will be for the recovery of at least the 87 car. This 87 car looks to have been able to, or has it still stopped?
Well, somebody's off at Arnage.
That is the 42 Stella Motorsport car of Senna Fielding. Whoa. It's a disaster for them. So multiple cars out, and the medical car's been scrambled.
Right. So hence the safety car. Well, again, up at the first chicane, there's a CD Sport car, their traditional red and yellow livery.
Trouble for the number 3 car, Dunlop, that's DKR Engineering, and one of their Ducanes. Multiple championship winners in these machines in recent years in the Le Mans Cup and the European Le Mans Series. But as we get down to safety car speeds, great getaway, great overtake for second, and then for the lead from Torsten Kratz in the full-season ELMS car from W10 by Rinaldi. Here's Horst Felbermay's car being recovered to the racing surface.
And that's why the leader is not steaming around at close to racing pace to get to the safety car, because they're in a slow zone which goes from Tertre Rouge, the entrance to the Mulsanne, straight down here to the first chicane.
Yeah.
So they are being kept at a very reduced speed, pit lane speed limiter type speed.
We've got 4 cars being shown as stopped. It's rather odd because the tracker shows it as 42 and 43. 42 is definitely Stella Motorsports, and that sort of rings true. 43, I wasn't sure we had one of those.
That's the Inter-Europol car, Tim Creswick,
which is stopped
because it didn't start.
Correct.
There's the Cool Racing garage, and there is your Cool Racing team boss, Nico Lapierre, who's wearing 2 hats this weekend. He's the team manager of Cool Racing, and he is also racing in the Le Mans 24 Hours in an Alpine hypercar. So there's a lot on his plate. There's Senna Fielding's car.
Now that's done because that's somewhat broken.
Right, so
it's not a high downforce nose. They're not supposed to be like that.
The map shows it at Arnage, but clearly he didn't quite get there. That is the gravel trap in the second part of Indianapolis. And I wondered whether it's actually not for him, it's more for Horst Felbermay. That car is not a pusher, is it?
I think it's the 87.
It's jammed in gear.
The 87 has not reappeared.
James Sweetenham in the Cool Racing car.
No, he's a lap down, and he disappeared. End of the Porsche curves coming into the Ford chicane area. Fell like a stone. We haven't seen anything of that, so...
Yeah. So safety car is out, and Torsten Kratz, car number 22, leading the field around. So who done what? Well, we know that Torsten Kratz jumped up from 4th on the grid to take the lead between the 2 chicanes on the Mulsanne on the opening lap. Felipe Lazer moved up to second in the other Rinaldi racing car that qualified in third. M Racing's Alex Kuno was on the move. Shuffle back from second to fourth, Arjen Kieler. Aldrin Gudmundsson, the Icelandic driver for Team Thor, he moved up to fifth. Tony Wells for Nielsen in sixth position, and Euro International's Milka Panu moved up to seventh place. Well, let's see if we can hear from Senan Fielding, whose car is in the gravel.
They did have a driver change. Sylvain Guintoli. Here's the 87.
I am joined by Senan Fielding, driver of the number 42 Stella Motorsport. Senan, we just saw you jump out of the car really quickly, and we were quite baffled by the strategy choices, maybe hoping for the safety car, which unfortunately did end up happening.
Yeah, unfortunately the safety car is us, so we was kind of hoping for one, but we didn't want it to be us. Obviously we had quite a nasty crash last night, so, and because we didn't take part in qualifying, I have to start both races. And you know, it can be a little bit more challenging in that sense, so the plan was basically go out, make sure everything's feeling okay, get Sylvain on in the car and then push on from there, but I'm not sure what's happened. We'll wait for him to get back and see, but I think he's okay. I've seen him out of the car and walking, which is the main thing. But Le Mans this year is definitely testing us.
Yeah, well, it was a big shunt. Hopefully he is okay, but thankfully, not just one race this weekend. You guys can come back on Saturday. What are you hoping for that week in the next race?
Yeah, no, like I say, last night, basically the teams had to build a brand new car. The car was a complete write-off after a little incident at the first chicane. So they've literally not been back to the hotel since 7 a.m. yesterday. So I think we've just got to get the car back. I know we've got all day tomorrow, but kind of just weigh up, see where we're at and go from there.
All right, we'll see you on Saturday. Best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Senan, cracking driver. 87 car, by the way, is creeping its way back.
Yeah.
Sylvain Guintoli, there's a story. That we may as well tell it now because there will be no other opportunity to tell it. The car's out of the race.
Well, we've always got Saturday, but we'll tell it again.
2014 World Superbike champion.
Yep.
And double winner here of the 24H Moto.
Yeah. And
this is the start of his journey to try to win 24-hour races here on 2 and 4 wheels.
Exactly right. And Ginters is not only a prodigiously talented motorcycle racer and endurance motorcycle racer, because he's racing in the FIM Endurance World Championship last year and here in the 24 hours, and as you say, he's a 2-time winner of the 24 Moto, which is held in slightly warmer conditions to this in April. But Ginters has raced Lamborghinis as well, and is definitely setting his target on trying to win Le Mans on 4 wheels as well. So, you know, where Valentino Rossi goes,
absolutely right.
A lot will follow.
Pool of fluid, by the way, underneath the 87 car. That's another one that is done. But here's the good news. All 3 cars were in trouble, appear to be either recovered in pit lane or on their way to being recovered. So it shouldn't be too much longer, as long as there's no barrier damage anywhere before we get back underway.
Indeed. I think that fluid was effect rather than cause, because the tyre was delaminated, so that does not look like he's gone off on his own fluid. That looks like it was a tyre issue, probably caused by a major spin, and then the car's being dragged in on its belly, and that's probably not helped.
No.
That would be the technical engineering term. Yeah, you've not helped there.
No.
But either way, whether it sprung a leak and spun him off, or whether there was some other issue that helped it spring a leak, it sprung a leak, and that car, again, is going to require the attention of his team. As you just heard from Senan Fielding, the Stella guys left the hotel at 7 o'clock yesterday morning, still here, probably not going to see the hotel until Sunday.
Yeah, indeed.
If they're lucky.
Rotten luck for them. They've still got a car of the game, mind you, because the Stella Motorsports Audi, the hands of Rory Butcher, by the way, has made good progress up to 5th place in GT3.
We covered what happened in LMP3, but because of what happened in LMP3, we didn't even have the remotest chance to go back and look at what was happening in GT3. What was happening is that Kessel Racing, their Ferrari, with David Fumanelli at the wheel, jumped into the lead. And here we go. We are now under safety car, 4 laps in, and there is no mandatory pit window. You can stop when you want, and a number of them are doing exactly that. So Kessel Racing led from 2 AF Corsa cars, Matthew Karazeski and Custodio Toledo. So Ferraris 1, 2, 3. Racing Spirit Le Mans, who started on pole, 4th place. You see the 2 Team Blackthorn Astons coming in there as well. It's getting very busy while James Sweetenham is down in the pit lane, and that means that Steph has a chance to go and chat to him and catch up with what happened to their car.
I am joined by James Sweetenham, driver of the number 87 Cool Racing, which obviously started right up at the front, so it's a massive shame that this failure has happened.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, sorry to the team. They did such an amazing job, and teammate Adrian did an amazing job to put it on pole. We had a really good start. We were leading there into to turn 5, and unfortunately went a little bit wide. There's a lot of debris on the track from the previous races, and struggled to get the tyres clean again for the rest of the lap. And then unfortunately I got caught out on the exit of the Porsche curves. I must have picked up some marbles, which unfortunately sent me spinning around, and the tyre delaminated. So just very sorry to the team, and yeah, gutting.
As you said, though, you do have the pace, so what is it looking like for the race on Saturday? Is it looking like you'll be able to pull off a similar feat?
Well, it's going to be an interesting race. The weather forecast is obviously not very good. The teammates lightning fast. The damage to the car looks relatively superficial, so I've no doubt that the team will have it repaired in no time. And yeah, we'll be able to hopefully have another opportunity to show the pace of the car and hopefully have some luck on our side.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, James's teammate, one of the 2 Adrians in the Cool Racing LMP3 lineup. His Adrian is Adrian Clomenil, and it's Adrian Keeler in the other car, the 97 car, who currently lies in 4th place. And they have been picked up now by the safety car. They're halfway down the Ligne Droite des Unaudières, or the Mulsanne Straight, as you may otherwise know. And of course, there's Manu Collard coming out of the pit lane in the 82 car.
Is it 24 starts of the 24 hours himself? It's 24 25, one or the other. 23 in a row. A record, by the way, which was matched last year by Romain Dumas, and both of them are going to fail, or in the case of Manu, failed to start his 24th, and in the case of Romain, he will not start 24. But hopefully we'll see them both back in the big race. But great to see the Peter Pan of Sports Car Racing back in the car. Manu Collard taking over from Charles-Henri Sommery. This is another European Le Mans Series regular crew. The pair of them did the Le Mans Cup last year, stepped up this year to ELMS, were not successful in being selected for Le Mans, and therefore will do this race instead. Charles-Henri Sommery, by the way, you'll see that car with a pretty similar, albeit white and black and red rather than chrome black and red livery to the 183 Oreca of the Tour de France Le Mans. They are brothers-in-law, Charles-Henri Sommery and Francois Perraudot.
There you go. I wondered why the livery. Yeah, very interesting. So, and actually, the black and white element of it are the colours of Brittany. Yes,
indeed.
The Breton colours.
There it is. This is the.
And you'll see the little kind of. It's not quite a clover leaf, but that sort of shape logo as well. So there were only 4 pit callers, because the other car that went in was the number 3 car from DKR Engineering, an LMP3 car, and Ye-Peng Cheng has taken over that chassis. As we said, most of the LMP3 chassis are built by Ligier, but there are a handful of Duquesne cars, in fact 8 on the start list out of our 40, so a fifth, 20% of the cars are from Duquesne Engineering, the car that was once known as a Norma.
Indeed, and just looking at, so Manu Collard definitely was a driver change. Martin Berry, I thought had started that race, but I did see a driver change in the 90 Blackthorn car. That's shared with Lorcan Hannafin.
Well, yeah, Martin Berry was shown as the starter. So drivers have to swap over a little switch inside, and of course we saw that with Senan Fielding, didn't we?
He did.
Because although he got out of the car, Sylvain Guintoli had not changed the switch. It's I think a lot of cars do have a manual switch. It used to be the case that when the driver plugged in their helmet radio, there was a transponder activating lump on it. Dongle is probably the word I was looking for, but probably wasn't. But that sort of thing that did it automatically. There have been cases clearly in this race where the automatically, if it exists, didn't work.
We'll need to see if I can quickly check the sporting regulations. That was 22 minutes before those cars came onto pit lane. And with driver changes haven't taken place, there has to be a driver change.
Yes.
There usually is a pit window. We haven't seen pit stop open. Are they going to do 2 stops? Are they putting the faster driver in at this point and hoping for another delay later in the race to put the gentleman driver back in, having made progress up the order?
Well, that's exact diametric opposite of what Stella Motorsport did, forced to start Senna and Fielding.
Yep.
The rule is, if you do not set a time, your faster driver, the driver who was faster in free practice, if times were set, has to start both races, as Senna pointed out. So they had to start him, and at the end of the first racing lap, boom, put in Sylvain Guintoli. Now then, everybody else looks like they are coming in. We do not have anything on our timing screen that says pit window open. So does that mean, well, there are 26 minutes remaining, so we are halfway through the race, time-wise, really, aren't we? And I think they're probably assuming slightly less than halfway through the race, because we are up against a time-certain finish. And don't forget, that time-certain finish does not mean that's when you throw the checkered flag. That means that's when somebody else's cars will be going out on track. So these need to be out of the way, having completed a slow-down lap and got back into their own paddock on the other side of the track. So that's going to further curtail by at least a lap. There's the 22 car, the race leader, Torsten Kratz, handing over to Leonard Weiss. 2 cars from Team Virage coming in with their distinctive yellow, orange and black livery. CD Sport, red and yellow. This is a whole field, isn't it?
Everybody's in, with the exception of the cars that have already stopped. They may well have done a genius for the moment. Manu Collard leads the race.
The man who may well win this race, if well, depending on how long the safety car stays out. There were marshals on track at Marshals Post 25, which is down at Indianapolis, at the left-handed element of Indianapolis. They are now not on track, but there is a safety car out, and so everybody will join in the queue. And yes, Manu Collard with Lorcan Hannafin and David McDonald in the 2 Blackthorn Astons may, and the codicil there would be, if it's legal, have done an enormously clever bit of pit stoppery.
Well, if the safety car comes back in. We've actually got 1 LMP3 cars out. They come, and they'll be catching that safety car train very quickly.
Well, the DKR car had, you're talking about 1 LMP3 car that's not in this clump. That was the number 3 car from DKR. That stopped last lap with the LMP3 cars.
That's the car that spun in the Dunlop chicane, rather.
Correct, but they have affected their pit stop. So the only cars that are not showing having done a pit stop are cars that did not start the race, or did not complete a lap anyway, in the case of Alexander Bukansov. Tim Cresswick, who didn't start in the 43 into Europol car, was actually a podium finisher last year in the first race in a GT3 Porsche with Anders Fjordbach.
That was the high-class racing.
Caffeine 6.
Indeed it was.
Yeah. Anders Fjordbach of high-class racing.
Barcelona-based, Danish flagged.
So there is DKR's Leonard Weiss heading out, with Rinaldi Racing 71 car pitted right behind him. So Stefan Aust has taken that over. David Drew has taken over 97 from Ajahn Kia. The Cool Racing car that qualified second will be 4th in the queue. But there is your race leader, Emmanuel Collard. Emmanuel Collard knows a thing or two about Le Mans.
Well, I mean, astonishing record here in terms of the breadth and the length of the time he's been racing here. Pescarolo driver, Corvette factory driver, Porsche factory driver, all sorts of cars in just about every imaginable class for Manu Collar. And I've said it before, he is the Peter Pan of sports car racing, barely changed.
My Manu Collar story concerns the Nordschleife of the Nürburgring. Went there for an endurance race a number of years ago. Manu Collar was racing for Pescarolo, so it was, I think, last year for Intercontinental Cup, anyway, or LMMC. And I was in a car that had a twin-turbo V10 Audi engine in it, an RS6 estate. Manu Collar went on in front of us in one of those Peugeot minibuses, the big, 5008 or whatever it would be now, 808 or something, 807 it was, fully laden with Pescarolo mechanics. Never saw him.
Yep.
And we were doing over 170 miles an hour on the straight and leaving fully kitted Mitsubishi Evos behind us.
Yep.
In this road car. Never caught the minibus.
It's astonishing, isn't it? That circuit is... Well, I've got a separate story about Jimmy Bruni and a 1.2 litre Skoda Fabia scaring Porsche GT3s, but astonishing. I mean, made his first start of Le Mans Manu Collar back in 1995. My first year was raced for Courage, Porsche GT1, Toyota in the GT1, Cadillac, Pescarolo for several years, then the Porsche RS Spider, the Corvette, and then a variety of LMP3 and GT cars up to and including 2022, when he was called back as a silver-ranked driver in the preparation for Team Penske for their hypercar program. They ran half a season in an LMP2 car, yes. And he came here with
they did.
Dane Cameron and Felipe Nasr, and I remember him telling me about that call that he got from Team Penske, and he genuinely thought it was his mates winding him up.
Did he hang up on Roger Penske? That's the thing, is, oh, stop it, click, brrr. Hello, hello?
Fabulous.
Yeah. Yes, so what we're saying is, if you've run an endurance team and you've never hired Manu Collar, have you really run an endurance team? I mean, really, have you? There you go. So Manu Collar leads from Lorcan Hannafin and David McDonald. Is that going to be our overall podium? Still 20 minutes on the clock. Seems unlikely the safety car will stay out all the way through. There are yellow flags here. Don't see where many people are still working on track, but of course we can't see that on our plot. We will just have to watch as the cars go round. And DKR's Ye Peng Cheng leads Leonard Weiss in the WTM by Rinaldi number 22 car, and 71 from Rinaldi Racing, Stefan Aust.
Pretty certain I've just seen something on our screens disappear that have those four leading cars under investigation for driving infringement.
Correct, and that might be a driving into the pits infringement before they were told pit lane was open, but we have not been at any stage told on the timing screen or on your screens at home that the pit lane is open or indeed closed, which often happens, Graham.
All I would say is we weren't in the driver's briefing. They all were. Yeah,
indeed. However, why is there no investigation then of Stella Motorsport stopping at the end of lap 1?
That was not under a safety car at that stage.
Right, so it's not that there was not a pit window open, it's just that they may have...
It could change twice.
May have entered the pits when the pit entry was closed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wet track, we're being told.
Are we indeed? Well, Anthony Davidson was glibly.
He's never glib.
He was glibly deriding the app on his phone that told him it was going to rain, and even as those words were hanging in the air, I was going outside thinking, do you know what? It is going to rain.
Well, the one thing this does mean, of course, is it means should the teams choose to change to wet rubber, they can. They can't until it is declared as a wet race.
Correct.
Safety car is in on this lap.
Which means, are we going to see everybody stop again? Not seeing any wipers on at the moment.
Full green track, by the way, now. Yeah. We are going to go back to green flag racing with, would you believe, 18 minutes left. This is going to be Formula crazy now.
What, because it wasn't at the start?
No, never is.
No, obviously. So, 4 53 cars running still. Safety car peels off into the pit lane. Don't go, don't go, don't go. Manu Collard now will start to head off. It is a green flag at the start-finish line. Again, reminding drivers, you may not pass before start-finish line. And so Torsten Kratz all over the back, Leonard Weiss rather, in the red and white car, all over the back of the very slow number 3 DKR car of Ye Peng Cheng. But I would suggest that by the end of the lap, that car there may well have overhauled the GT3 cars in front of him, unless he hits water and fails to survive it.
Already the W10 Rinaldi car of Leonard Weiss has passed the DKR car, and my guess here is we've got Manu Collard, Lorcan Hannafin and David McDonald screaming into their helmets as they get onto the Mulsanne straight. There's all sorts of changes in position going on behind. They're going to see all the LMP3 cars in the world in their mirrors.
Team Thor's Colin Noble just picked up a place from Romano Ricci in the M Racing car. That's the 77 car. Right behind him is the Nielsen Racing car of Wayne Boyd, the former United Autosports driver. And they are now side by each as they come onto the Mulsanne straight, right behind the Rinaldi Racing car of Stefan Aust. And here's the battle for the lead. Manu Collard, Lorcan Hannafin giving a very good account of himself in that Blackthorn Racing Aston Martin, pressuring him as Leonard Weiss closes in behind David McDonald, and it's anybody's race for second.
It's 15 cars side by side, basically, as they come into the first chicane. This is going to be madness. Here comes Leonard Weiss up into third place, up the inside now of the second, the Blackthorn Aston Martins. He moves up. Next target, Lorcan Hannafin, is 1.7 seconds on the road.
Yeah, the car that went on the inside of the chicane and dropped half a dozen places with the number 3 DKR car down. Ye Peng Cheng from second to 10th. And steaming up the inside comes David Drew in the Cool Racing car, passes the first of the Astons. The two white-nosed cars, Team Thor ahead of Nielsen Racing and M Racing with the turquoise nose.
That's the other way round. It's Nielsen Racing's Wayne Boyd is ahead of Colin Noble. They're making progress, passing the 71 Rinaldi Racing cars. Another battle for 6th place. W10 Rinaldi, half a second eked out against the Aston Martin. It's not going to be long before we see an LMP3 car back in the leadership race.
But the problem for Leonard Weiss in that red and white car is David Drew right behind and Team Virage up the inside, and that is Menea Stefan ahead of Romano Ricci. Did he get through? Not quite. Yes, he did.
Up the inside, Leonard Weiss on the Aston Martin looking for second place, and then it will be just Manu Collard between him and the lead. He makes that move. Cool Racing car in the hands of David Drew. Now with the Aston Martin, he's going to try and replicate that move. He's going to manage that reasonably easier to come into Indianapolis.
Yeah, gets through up into third on the road, still second in LMP3. Drive-through penalty for car number 26 for a start infringement, or possibly a restart infringement. We'll get to that at a later date, as the battle is on for the overall lead here. It is AF Corsa's Manu Collard in the GT3 Ferrari that leads Leonard Weiss. Weiss pulls out alongside. He'll have the advantage in top speed. He'll have the advantage in grip. He'll have the advantage under braking. But right behind, David Drew trying to find a way by as well. Does not want to allow Leonard Weiss to put that GT3 car in front of him into the Porsche curves, but Weiss got through. David Drew does not. This is going to cost him 10 seconds red flag.
Manu Collard could win this race. This will count back with a red flag if we do. It's a big shunt. Driver is waving.
Yeah, driver's okay.
It's the number 9 car.
Second chicane.
No, it's on the run down to Indianapolis.
Oh, it is. Yeah, so that's
a high speed.
Louis Rossi in the number 9 Graf car. Yeah, that's gone hard into the barriers.
Also in trouble, by the way, looks to be the number 4 car from Nielsen Racing. That one is dropping way down the order in the same.
Again, number 9 car is actually shown as being at Arnage, but it's not. There it is.
That is big impact.
Substantial debris field.
He's okay. He's okay.
Well, that's the only thing that matters.
Rear end of that car is completely gone. In fact, most of the front end as well.
Yeah, it's only the survival cell that has done what it should have done.
Session will not resume.
It was never going to in 13 minutes, was it?
I think Manu Collard has just won this race.
Well, what he has done definitely and definitively is won GT3 from the 2 Blackthorn Astons, as long as none of them
Oh, good grief. Oh, good grief.
Yeah, well, that's why the red flag. And that means Hypercar will not start on time either. That is a 1 or possibly 2 hour repair job.
That is a massive, massive impact. We can be very thankful indeed that Ligier built these cars strongly.
And look, it hasn't even cracked the screen.
That is astonishing.
Yeah.
I think he's got him backwards there at very high speed.
Yep. You saw Jean-Eric Vergne there.
You can see the response from the medical team.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, he got out and he was fine, and then actually you could literally see the adrenaline sinking in his body as he then started to limp a little bit. But that's a huge impact. And again, we talked about this before. Well, there's the AF Corsa team. There's Francois Perraudot.
Well, that's brother-in-law. That's his brother. That's Charlie Samedy. And, well...
There have been more bizarre race finishes.
Well, probably in this year with the Le Mans Cup. But usually, I did say it was Formula Bonkers.
I'm thinking about the 24-hour race a few years ago where LMP2s nearly covered the entire podium. And it was only the one remaining LMP1 Porsche that came from 8 laps back that actually won the race.
If AF Corsa have called that correctly, that's utter genius.
They don't usually make tactical
No, they
errors.
don't. There was, briefly at least, on the... look at that. That is a huge... I've never seen that barrier damage like that.
No.
That is, I think, exactly the same place, if you're long-time followers of Le Mans, where there was the huge shunt between the Audi and the Ferrari overnight in 2011, I want to say.
Yeah, the Mike Rockefeller crash.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly where it was.
I think you're 100% right. Well, Well, we know who's won GT3, possibly.
Yes.
If they didn't enter the pit lane when the pit lane was closed, and that was an issue for the top 3 cars, AF Corsa's Ferrari and the 2 Blackthorn Astons, because they all came in together. What we do know is that W10 by Rinaldi Racing, number 22 car, used to be number 12, now number 22, because number 12's gone to somebody else, now they're not racing. That car has won in LMP3 from Cool Racing's 97 car, and because we haven't the count back, Nielsen was behind Thor. Thor might be on the podium.
Well,
again. Well, there is, oof.
It's unpleasant to watch, to look at that car.
Yeah.
How he has walked away from that, I have absolutely no idea.
And again, modern racing cars, they're not just fast. That survival cell did exactly what it was supposed to do, and Louis Rossi stands up and steps out of the car under his own steam, and that is quite remarkable given what it's done to the scenery. I mean, I wondered where the marshal was going behind the barrier, obviously not looking for Mike Rockefeller like in the Audi crash, but actually to recover bits of car.
There are at least 2 impact points on that barrier. If you look at the right of centre, at the bottom of the barrier, there's an impact point, and then it's just torn that barrier apart.
Just almost blasted through. I mean, again, I think you're right. I think it went in backwards, and that's probably what stopped it going through.
Yeah. Well, as they stop under the red flag, let's just talk about the top finishers, because we wait to see what the decisions are.
Because we don't know who they are.
Well, W10 by Rinaldi Racing, under the red flag, finish at the moment at the top of the order in the number 22 Duquesne. AF Corsa's 82 Ferrari, second, and leading GT3. Then Cool Racing's 97, David Drew, Manu Collard, by the way, in the 82 car that finished the race under the red flag. The 97 Cool Racing car for David Drew, third and second in LMP3. Blackthorn's Aston Martin number 90 in the hands of Lorcan Hannafin, fourth and second in GT3. The 7 Nielsen Racing Ligier, Wayne Boyd at the wheel when the red flag came out. That car sits 5th and 3rd in LMP3. 77 from Team Tour, another Ligier, Colin Noble at the wheel of that car, 4th at LMP3 and 6th overall. Then the 3rd of the GTs was the 91 Aston Martin from Blackthorn, David McDonald, bringing that car to the red flag. And we'll call the last car in the top 5 in LMP3 at the moment. That's the 44 car from Team Virage, the Melea Stefan car. the 44 car from Team Farage. This is going to take a while, I'm afraid.
And that car will not race on Saturday morning. There's literally nothing there to bolt anything back onto. However, let's take a look at what has been a crazy first race on the road to Le Mans. Well, the rolling start after qualifying was dominated by the two Cool Racing cars, just 22 thousandths apart. Rinaldi Racing locked out row 2, but it was Torsten Kratz in the number 22 red and white car who was the man on the move as our pole sitter James Sweetnam took the lead from teammate Adrian Keeler into the first chicane. Already Torsten Kratz was up from 4th to 3rd on the grid, and he wasted no more time moving through, grabbing the lead on the opening lap down into the second chicane on the Mulsanne straight. As up to 3rd place went Aldrin Gudmundsson in the Team Thor car. Horst Felbermeyer stuck at the side of the track. He wasn't the only one. The number 3 DKR car had a spin and the safety car was called out. Stella Motorsports car was in the barriers with Sylvain Guintoli, and after a puncture for James Sweetnam, the car out of the race. Then behind the safety car, the pit lane opened and everybody came in, but the top 3 cars had stopped already. 3 GT3 cars and an LMP3. We will wait to see investigations into those pit stops before the results are finalised. But the red flag thrown after a massive impact for Graf Racing's Louis Rossi.
I am joined by the winner of GT3, Charles-Henri Samani of the number 82 AF Corsa. Quite the strategy call from you guys, and you've ended up really benefiting from this.
Yeah, we've been lucky today. The beginning of the race have been very chaotic. It's difficult to race in those conditions where there is lots of interruption, no pace, no rhythm. So technically we have to deal with what's happening, and obviously today I'm not very proud of this win. I'm very happy to be on the first step of the podium, but there's nothing. I mean, I would have loved to win in other circumstances, but we take it, and we're happy because it's always a great pleasure to be with Emmanuel Collard, such a legend. 25 participation to Le Mans on the podium with my coach.
And it's quite an amazing circuit to be here. Technically, you know, a home race for you. How nice is it to race in front of your home crowd? And know you're going to do it again on Saturday. Yes, it's just the first race, so let's see what's the race direction, decide after the cancellation of the qualification session this morning. So today we look at tomorrow. It's going to be different circumstances. I think the weather will be quite tricky and tricky for us. I never driven here under the rain, so I take every session as an experience and to build up my knowledges to one day maybe participate to the 24 hours. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Well, that's what everybody is looking for, aren't they? To try and convert the knowledge here into LMP2 machinery and then move up with the potential to start Le Mans in those cars, and who knows, maybe move up into the hypercar category. There's Torsten Kratz, his teammate Leonard Weiss. Well, Kratz took the lead right at the start in the WM by Rinaldi Racing. Wochenspiegel magazine sponsorship on that car, as Rinaldi Racing have had for so many years in VLN races and the N24 at the Nordschleife. And there's the very dramatic damage on the back of that car. You can see that the first step is to cut the mangle barriers away. Then the posts will all be checked to make sure that they are safe to retain new barriers before new barriers can be placed in, but there's a bit of work going on. There's
at least one that is crushed, so this is going to take some little time, but they're going at it at a pace.
Yep. Well, you know, that's one of the deals here. It's not just the teams that are under pressure. The marshals, the track workers, they are all under extreme time pressure all week here at Le Mans. It's not just about 4 o'clock on Saturday to 4 o'clock on Sunday. Every one of these days of track action from last Sunday in the test day is absolutely packed with moving machinery. And that's why those people, the 350,000 fans that come here every year, to keep them entertained and to give them something to watch. And in my day, when I first came, there were barely, there was maybe one support race on Saturday morning, and that was it. And the rest of the time was about getting your Group C cars around the track and getting ready for the 24 hours. And gradually, the circus has grown, and more championships and more brands and manufacturers want to be part of the 24-hour week experience. And so they are.
And since those early days with you, Martin, the little town of Le
Bentley
Mans
have come and gone. Alfa Romeo have come and gone.
The little town of Le Mans has grown up around the circuit. It was all fields round here.
Oh, it were all fields here. I mean, you know, places that are now paddocks and you know, the Porsche Performance Centre and so on. That was just car parking outside the Media Accreditation Centre. I can remember sleeping in fields here that are now buildings. So, yeah, but for all of that, for all of the changes of infrastructure, and actually most of them have been very, very welcome, not least in the fan villages and the fan areas, the huge fan zone that's been built up over the last few years, and particularly since COVID, actually, the ACO have really, really gone to town in making this even more a welcome race for fans. It's just great. I mean, the challenge of the track remains. Okay, the pit lane is different from the 1930s, the 1950s, the 60s. If you look at the pit lane in the Steve McQueen Le Mans film, shot in 1969, that's the pit lane that was still here when I came in 1983. And boy, did it feel like it. But this modern pit building now, and all of the infrastructure around this track is absolutely world class. And still, people flock here. The way they go to Indianapolis, or would if they could, the way they would race at Monaco if they could. I remember talking years ago to Adrian Newey saying, why have you come here racing in your GT car? He said, well, because they won't let me race in Monaco, and they're not going to let me do the Indy 500, but they'll let me race at Le Mans.
They've just reordered the finishing order, and it is not a win in GT3 for AF Corsa.
I did worry that those three cars might have stopped early. You're absolutely right. So the finishing order has been changed. WTM by Rinaldi Racing and Cool Racing's 97 car are the top three in LMP3. Oh, something just moved again.
It did.
In GT3, Kessel Racing's number 12 Ferrari that Frédéric José was in is shown as the winner. With Racing Spirit of Le Mans, Valentin Assert-Clos had only just taken over the 95 Aston, and the AF Corsa Ferrari number 88 of Riccardo Agostini shown in third. And on countback, Louis Rossi, the man whose crash brought out the red flag, is shown as a finisher. 28th in LMP3, so quite away from any points. But yeah, that has changed. And where did the AF Corsa car, Emmanuel Collard,
it's way down, it's 49th.
A lap back.
Yeah.
So he and the Blackthorn cars and the number 3 DKR car have all been docked a lap for stopping when the pit lane was closed.
I think that's right. There you go. This is the overall classification. First for the 22 WTM by Rinaldi Racing car after just 5 racing laps. Rinaldi Racing's 71 car completes a 1-2 for the team, for the German team. Cool Racing's 97 third. M Racing, Team Tour, Nielsen Racing 7, ANS Motorsport, Team Virage, RLR M Sport and EDEX Sport complete the top 10. There's the winner, 19th place overall for the number 12 Kessel Racing Ferrari. These are now official results. The winner in GT3 for the 12 Kessel Racing car. And then we go down to 30th place for the 88 AF Corsa Ferrari. So Ferrari 1-2. No, that's not right.
That's not what we're seeing 28th.
Oh, no, sorry, my apologies, I've misread it.
It
is the 95 Aston Martin for Racing Spirit of Le Mans second. The 88 Ferrari from AF Corsa is third. That's the podium in GT3, followed by the next of the AF Corsa cars, the 51. Get Speed's 14 Mercedes-AMG, High Class Racing's 18 Porsche complete the top 6, with the Iron Dames Lamborghini 7th, Team Motorpork Mercedes-AMG 8th, and then Heart of Racing by SPS's Mercedes-AMG 9th, and the top 10 in the GT3 class is completed by another AF Corsa Ferrari, the number 10 car.
Yeah,
the 80 car, my apologies.
Yeah, Michele Rugolo, another very well-known name. And in the end, remarkably, 52 cars of the 57 that started finished what was quite a carnage-streamed race.
They did according to the results. They didn't in reality, because at least one of them is in a bucket on the way back to...
Ah, that's true. Yes, that's true. So make it 51 cars. Yes. It'll fit into a fairly small envelope, actually, what's left of that car. But the critical thing, and again, you cannot say enough about that for Ligier and the design generally of modern racing cars, that Louis Rossi was able to step out literally of the wreckage. There was barely anything left other than the survival cell of his car. He was strapped into that, and that without question saved his life, because there's not much left of that car that I don't think we'll ever see a racetrack again, and probably not enough left to even build a show car out of still. Louis Rossi is all in one piece. For the Graf Racing team, unfortunately, there will be, I don't think, any track action on Saturday for the number 9 car, but, well, who'd be a race director, who'd be a steward, who'd be a championship official trying to sort the wheat from that chaff? As soon as they were investigating those pit stops, though, for those 4 cars that came in early behind the safety car, you thought, uh-oh, pit lane entrance was probably closed at that stage, and I think that's why they've had the penalties.
Well, I have to say, from what was, well, carnage and arnage and more or less everywhere else, they turned around that to an official race result remarkably quickly.
Yep.
But I think there's 1 or 2 people in that race that need to have a good hard look at themselves in terms of some of the behaviours we saw on track. That's not unusual, I'm afraid, but rather sadly, we didn't get very much by the way of actual racing in that race, and let's hope we get something better for the something rather better for race morning on the morning of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. We are going to get to the podium and this brand new and very impressive podium structure here at Le Mans. We've got to get used to that. There it is, with the huge LED screen behind. That's now angled towards the grandstands, as well it should. It's a show, of course, for the paying public as well as for the teams and drivers involved in this. And the team's ready to go to the podium. Quite the result for Rinaldi Racing.
Yeah, absolutely. The returning number 22 car from W10 by Rinaldi taking victory, but Rinaldi Racing qualified 3rd and 4th. You know, they're no slouches, and their driver lineups are both very strong. Cool Racing dominated the front row of the grid. They got a podium out of it for the number 97 car, but the pole-sitting car, James Sweetenham, having that incident in the race, and unfortunately the 87 car not able to complete the race.
That repair, by the way, coming on at a pace. It looks to me like it's just one supporting barrier, and beyond that the Armco has behaved as it should, which is it's taken the energy out of the impact.
I will just say metal retaining barriers, because Armco, like Hoover, is like Portakabin, is a very fiercely protected brand.
Okay.
So just in the case that it is not made by that particular company. In fact, I don't even know if that particular company is still in operation, but it's certainly it's the word that everybody uses for trackside metal barriers. Yeah, there you go. So yes, that's happening on the left-hand side of your picture there. And what's also happening is it's blooming freezing this week. High summer. This is the closest weekend to Midsummer Day, the longest day of the year, and it is often at Le Mans absolutely scorchio. This year, however, overnight lows have been in middle single digits, if that, and the daytime high, I think the highest we saw was maybe 25 degrees yesterday. I would think we are probably at somewhere between 5 and 10 degrees shy of that today. Using clothing that you don't expect to use outside of Spa or Silverstone this weekend.
Yep, so we are waiting for a podium ceremony. We hope to be able to bring you that in the remaining time we have available in this show. Of course, there is a busy schedule this evening here at Le Mans. Still hyperpole and free practice for night practice, which will go on from 21:45 to 23:15 local.
Yep.
For the show that we've got to bring to you on our other channels, and of course the Le Mans 24 Hours app.
Yes, don't forget, if you are watching us on broadcast, you can also watch us live on the Le Mans or FIA WEC app, go to the ACO's website or to the WEC website, you'll find that. And by the way, for those of you who want to know a little bit more about what happens behind the scenes, i.e. not quite on track, but just a little bit off it, go to the WEC YouTube site. Not only can you watch all of the races in full, you can watch the hour-long highlights as well of all the races this season and last season and the season before and the season before. But you can also enjoy the full access programs. They started last season after each of the rounds and have continued this year. And if you want to see how the teams and the drivers react to circumstances often beyond their control and the performances of their teammates and rivals, then full access gives you exactly what it says on the tin. A great view behind the scenes and some really excellent insight into just what goes on in a team. Stuff that Graham and I do not see because we're either excluded out the back in the paddock or sitting here watching it on the telly where we don't get that sort of reaction. But it is a really, really good watch.
Yeah, you like a bit of racing gossip, you'll see it live. It's the reality. You do see, I mean, the thing I like most about full access is that there's no editing for effect. It's as it happens. The drama, the emotion, quite honestly, sometimes high emotion in both directions, often at once. But it's a cracking example of actually what it's like behind the scenes of motorsport.
For high emotion alone, start off with full access from last year's Le Mans. We talked about Francois Perrault. I mean, the incident that he had late in the race with the Corvette team. Boy, you know, 2 years ago that was, wasn't it? Yeah, but that's worth it. That's worth it.
All of it. I mean, well, it's you know, one of the things I adore about my life in motorsport is being given access, full access, to exactly those kind of scenarios. And it is a people sport. It's a team sport, and to watch it from, this is, by the way, these are the Teams Championship post-race, 97 car, now with a 9-point lead from RHGP, and they were the big losers here, didn't get the opportunity to get into that fight after being forced to start from the back. High Class Racing just 2 points behind them. Team Tour still in the fight. In the Drivers' Championship, it is Adrian Gila and David Drew that lead the way from Fabien Michel and Adrian David.
But they remain in second place. RSGP and those two drivers remain second in the points. We still have Alessandro Balzan and Maciej Kurzewski leading the point standings for AF Corsa, the 51 car in GT3.
From the 12 Kessel Racing squad that closed in a little there now. It's under 20 points. It's Kessel 2-3 now.
That's interesting because the 12 car was fourth in the standings and the 74 car was second, so there's been a big change there. So
we are going to be closing this broadcast, I think, before we get to the podium ceremony. That's because the TV show that's done from this very same broadcast studio for Hyperpole does need to start on time for our broadcast partners.
Well, and it's the same track and the same cameras. So, so it's a bit hard to split. So that is it then for race one of the Road to Le Mans. The second race, Saturday morning before the 24-hour race, and in fact they will be the second of our support races. 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe will be in action, and 10:20 on Saturday morning we will then switch to race 2 of Road to Le Mans. So lots more for the teams to do to get ready for that, and lots more racing hopefully still to come for Road to Le Mans on Saturday morning.